Edge split effectively splits the continuity between faces in order to achieve a sharp edge along a subdivided or smoother surface.
Demonstrating how the edge split modifier works is best done on a complex model such as this orbot.
I'll enable statistics in my viewport overlays so we can better see how splitting edges will in fact increase edge and vertex counts. I'll tab into Edit mode, select an edge, bring up my Edge contextual menu, and select Edge Split. The edge and vertex counts have gone up slightly, and if I reselect this edge and move it, you can see how it's split off. I'll undo this and add the modifier to replicate what we just did in a non-destructive way. I'll increase the angle, and as I do, you can see how the edge and vertex counts increase dramatically as the modifier searches for edges which satisfy this threshold.
If your object is set to flat shading, let's change this to smooth shading. By default, the edge angle is set to 30 degrees, and this is activated, as is the sharp edges setting. Let's disable the settings for the moment so we can have a closer look. I'll toggle into edit mode so we can clearly see that some of the edges have been marked sharp. These can be highlighted or even isolated in your overlay settings. The way you mark an edge as sharp is fairly simple. When we're in edit mode, you can select an edge or hold down Shift and Alt and select an edge loop. You can select several edges or edge loops this way. Once we've selected a few, we'll bring up our Edge Specials menu by hitting Ctrl E. And from this menu, we can select Mark Sharp. Now let's re-enable the Sharp Edges setting in our Edge Split modifier to see the result. I'll deselect it and just enable Edge Angle. The default is set to 30 degrees, which means any faces which meet at an angle greater than 30 degrees are treated as a sharp edge. Enabling face normals is a good way to see what angle faces meet at. Here is a simple plane. I've split it down the middle, so now we have two faces. I'll tab into edit mode, and in our viewport overlays, I'll enable face normals and edge angles. I'm going to set my cursor to the center edge of this plane, and I'm going to set my pivot so that any rotation occurs around the cursor. I'll now select this outer edge and rotate it around the y-axis so that the two faces are now set at an angle. The inner angle is 120 degrees, but the edge angle that is measured is showing us that these two front edges form a 60-degree angle. But here is where Blender measures this angle from. And it's a little counterintuitive. So here's a way that makes more sense to us end users. Let's increase the size of the face normals until they intersect. Now in front view, I'm going to use my measurement tool to draw out this angle. I'm going to click on the origin points of where the normals are emerging. Then, holding down Control, I can click anywhere between these points on the measuring line and drag that point to where the face normals meet. You can now clearly see that the angle formed between these faces is 60 degrees. I'll tab back into Object Mode, and I'm going to set the shading for this plane to Smooth. If we set our edge angle to 59 degrees, then we see that the angle here is drawn as sharp. The edge is split. But if we set our edge angle to 61 degrees, then this angle is drawn as smooth, because the threshold for what is considered sharp and what isn't has been exceeded. Now, the usual way we use this modifier is to combine an angle and sharp edge setting. Sometimes the angle will suffice, and you can dial the angle to whatever gives you the best result. But if some edges are outside of that boundary, marking them sharp and enabling sharp edges will give you the result that you're after.